We've all experienced making decisions day to day. Small, everyday decisions like what to wear and what to eat, and larger decisions, ones that have the power to change the course of your life. Think back to one of those big decisions you have made in your life and ask yourself, if I had made a different choice, where would I be right now? Would you want the opportunity to live out that life where you chose to go left instead of right? What if you find out you like this alternate reality more than your current life? Do you regret the choices you made to take you to where you are now? Or do you leave feeling inspired and ready to take matters into your own hands to reshape your current reality? Join me as we talk about this very thing as I review The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison on Amy Reads Books. The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison was published on June 3rd of 2025. It is 320 pages long and has a 4.19 out of 5-star rating on Goodreads with over 16,000 ratings and over 3,500 book reviews. This book has been on my book club's list since it was published, and we finally got around to reading it this past February. And I will say I really enjoyed this book, and I'll break down the different categories of my ratings: readability, predictability, and accessibility, so that you can see how my score compares with the rating on Goodreads. Reading you the synopsis of the book: with a leading role on a hit TV show and a relationship with Hollywood's latest heartthrob, Meg Bryan appears to have everything she ever wanted. But underneath the layers of makeup and hairspray, her happiness is as fake as her stage name, Lana Lord. Following a small breakdown at her 30th birthday party, she books an impromptu trip where she knows the grass is greener, Ireland. Specifically, the quaint little village where she and her best friend Amy always dreamt of moving to, a dream that fell apart when an accident claimed Amy's life a decade ago. When Meg arrives, the people in town are so nice, treating her not as a stranger, but as a friend, except for the extremely hot bartender giving her the cold shoulder. Meg writes this all off as jet lag until she looks in the mirror. Her hair is no longer bleached within an inch of its life. Her skin has a few more natural lines, and her nose looks like, well, her old nose, her real nose. Her phone reveals hundreds of pictures of her life in this little town, and an adorable dog she doesn't know, a bartender who might be her ex-boyfriend, and a retail job unrelated to acting. Eventually, she comes to accept that she somehow made a quantum slide into an alternate version of her life. But the most shocking realization of all, in this life, her best friend Amy is alive and well, but she wants nothing to do with Meg. Despite her bewilderment, Meg is clear-eyed about one thing. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to change and reconnect with her friend and repair what she broke. She finagles an opportunity to act in the play that Amy is writing and directing, and as the project unfolds, Meg realizes that events as she remembers them may not only be the truth, and that is an impossible choice looms before her. So jumping into my categories of readability, predictability, and accessibility, for readability, I would rate this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I was hooked on this novel from the get-go. I liked the author's writing style, and the dialogue felt very conversational and natural. There was vivid imagery used, which painted a very clear picture of the scenery, the settings, and what the characters looked like appearance-wise. I also love that this was set in Ireland, as I feel like any book set in this country is automatically going to be charming, cozy, and inviting. I feel that some of the character portrayal was a little bit unrealistic. One of the things in Meg's life is that she works at a retail store. However, there was very little mention of her going to work or needing to be at work. And she instead got involved with a lot of other obligations outside of her typical full-time job. Regarding the story's theme of the grass is always greener, it really resonated with me, and it remained prevalent throughout the storyline and as the book progressed. I also greatly enjoyed the time slip, parallel universe, alternate reality aspect of this because I am a believer in that. And so being able to read a story that included this type of scenario was super interesting to me. Moving into my rating for predictability, I would rate this a 4 out of 5 stars. As a reminder, the higher of a rating for predictability means that it is less predictable, therefore more enjoyable to me. A lower score means that it was more predictable and therefore less enjoyable. So again, rating this a 4 out of 5 stars. There was a lot that happened in this book that I wasn't expecting, and I think part of it could have been that I was invested in the characters and I was hoping something would happen, and of course that didn't in the book. So as the book went on, I really began to appreciate Meg's life in Ireland and much favored it over Lana Lord's life in LA. And so as you got towards the end of the book, I did feel invested in Meg's life and was a bit heartbroken with how things ended up. It's possible because I was hoping for an ending that didn't happen, lent to the unpredictability for me. So I feel like the author did a good job of tricking the reader. There were also several scenes throughout the book that didn't play out the way that I was expecting and left me feeling frustrated with Meg and her choices. The very end of the book was satisfying, and I was half expecting what happened to have happened. And so when I got to the end, it was satisfying to see that what the reader was hoping for ended up coming through. Lastly, in terms of accessibility, I would rate this a 4 out of 5 stars. I was pleasantly surprised to see the library availability in terms of hard copies at my 2 local libraries, as well as the options for either a used version online or even a free version with a monthly subscription. At my 2 local libraries, there were hard copies that were instantly available. And then using the Libby app, there was actually limited availability. There was only about 2 or 3 ebook copies that were checked out. So there was about a 2-week hold and a wait time. And then in terms of the audiobook, there was actually only 1 audiobook available to rent. That was also checked out. And so again, the wait time was about 2 weeks. If we're looking to purchase this book on Amazon, if you have a Kindle Unlimited or an Audible membership, this novel is included. However, if you would like to get an actual hard copy of a book, there were used books for sale as low as $9.42. Looking at Abe Books, there was about 35 copies for sale. And again, the lowest price started at that $9.42 and moved upwards of $20+. And then on Pango Books, this is personally where I bought my copy when I read this for book club. Right now, there are about 14 copies available, and the price is ranging anywhere from $7 all the way upwards of $25. Overall, I would be rating The Other Side of Now a 4 out of 5 stars, which if we think back to the rating on Goodreads at 4.19 out of 5 stars, it feels like my rating is quite in line with what the general public thought. I really enjoyed reading this book, not only for the heartfelt characters and the robust storyline, but I also enjoyed the reminder that we are in control of the decisions we make in our life, and we have the power within us to change the course of our lives if we want to do that. If you read The Other Side of Now and liked it as much as I did, please make sure to give this video a like or comment your favorite scene in the book. Thank you so much for watching Amy Reads Books. I will see you in the next video. Bye.